Good afternoon. Welcome to this edition of the Richard Urban Show. I'm your host, Richard Urban. We're very happy today to have Rhonda Hercules on. She's running for the 2nd Congressional District for the U.S. House of Representatives here in West Virginia. So please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Rhonda Hercules. I'm running for U.S. House of Representatives, as you said. I'm a lifelong resident of Wheeling, West Virginia. Other than spending summers with my father in Tucson, Arizona, I've lived here all my life. My day job is as a Secretary of Operations for High County Schools. I also serve as Secretary for the Brooke County Republican Executive Committee, District Captain for Convention of States, and President of the High County Public Schools Federal Credit Union. I'm running for Congress because I've lost all faith in government. I believe we're in the last battle for our Constitution. And if citizens don't stand up and take this country back, we're going to lose it. We're going to lose all of our freedoms. The Great Reset and that global agenda is going to require we give up our sovereignty. And we need to realize that before it's too late. So, this year, all 435 seats of the House of Representatives are up for election. And I think we should put patriotic Americans in every seat.
I agree.
I think that only the people are the ones that are going to respect and restore the Constitution. The globalists in Washington have sold us out. It's plain to see, even more so now since the election, that there is no Republican and there is no Democrat. There's globalists and there's Americans. So we need to take our rightful place and step back up and take our government.
Okay, so you were talking about, this kind of lack of integrity. So would you say that's the biggest issue facing the United States right now? I mean, what is the biggest issue in your opinion?
Well, I think that very few people realize how many UN policies we've adopted. While they're tearing down the Constitution, we are adopting policy after policy that are United Nations policies and NATO. And I think most people do not realize that. And that's what they want. It's not what we're going to want, but that's what they want.
That's very interesting. In one field, like, as you know, I'm interested in, the helping youth in staying sexually abstinent and being successful, in their lives. Well, one of our speakers last time, I don't know if you got a chance to see that, it was April Gillard, was talking about, like, basically all the different arguments at the UN. She lobbies for the Families United at the UN. Come down to, they want to insert comprehensive sex education or abortion language in basically every kind of document, every kind of policy. And so I think, what do you think about the issue of more on a local level, like should we, or how would you say, anyway, an education policy level, should we help youth by, emphasizing in like education materials, staying absent before marriage, for and the benefits of that? Should that be emphasized?
Absolutely. I agree with that. It doesn't hurt anything. I mean, I think what's going on in the schools right now is detrimental to our children. And we can see that with the suicide rates in our children are out of this world. I mean, they're off the charts right now. There's something wrong. And I can't believe that we can't put our finger on that. All this ESL and CRT, it's detrimental to our society as well as to our children, to their mental health. And that's not what the CRT and all that stuff is not. They're promoting absolutely opposite of any kind of abstinence, or they want these kids sexually active. They want to talk to them in pre-K and kindergarten.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize, I mean, kind of the CRT thing has come up, and it's not super, in my studies, super clearly defined, what it is. But the thing that has been clearly defined, and I've been know about it because I've been like working in the youth health abstinence center education for a couple decades plus, is that, you know, so-called comprehensive sex education, which doesn't sound bad, but it is very bad, is really what's being pushed extensively. And that does include the LGB agenda and all of that, and does include, you know, saying that children can and should, you know, explore sexually, does not include any serious, how do you say, information or the benefits of sexual abstinence. So, I mean, that is really, really a problem. And I don't think enough people, you know, realize that.
And I think a lot of it is what we're bombarding the kids with. It's everywhere. You can't escape it. It's everything online. It's every game they play. It's every show they watch. It's just everywhere. And now it's in the classroom.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree.
So, as you know, House member, you know, what do you see as your role in serving the people? Like, what can you do in that role? You know, how would you see the role of the federal government, like overall?
Well, for the finance, as you know, they're all yelling for tax increases now. We need to go back. We already pay way too many taxes. You already don't own anything in this country. We're already a socialist country. You pay for your home, you never own it. You don't own your home, you don't own your car. I don't think there should be personal property taxes. Once you pay for something, your home, you should own it. You shouldn't have to pay the government for the rest of your life for it. That's one
Right.
thing I'd like to see happen. Um, I do not want a digital ID. I think it's going to be invasive. It's going to be the modern day slavery. We need an internet bill of rights. The consumer of the 20th century is going to be the consumed of the 21st century if we don't get some kind of ownership of our own data. Um, Data mining is the gold rush of the 21st century. We
Hmm.
have to get a handle on that. Everything that's been done so far has been done to benefit corporations. There's nobody in Washington looking out for the people or the consumer. And we need that. We need real people in government.
Hmm. So the digital ID, I'm familiar with the concept of the vaccine ID, which is a type of digital ID. Are you talking about even more? So that's tracking your movements or whether you're vaccinated or not, things like that. Is this something even more extensive, like maybe an ID to do commerce, or what? How would you define the digital ID?
That ID is going to span over every aspect of your life. It's going to be able to pick up your biometric data and immediately deliver it. Uh, you're going to have a social credit score. I mean, you could be, it could be, say you go to church.
Hmm.
Oh, well, they could say, well, you go to church on Sunday, you have much more chance of catching COVID because you go around all these people every Sunday. So we're going to lower your score. And everything, every aspect of your life is going to be controlled by that
So
score.
how would they know you went to church? Because it's something like Google Maps is tracking you all the time.
Yes, it'll know where you are. It'll know all your biometric data. I mean, it'll be able to tell your reaction if you're watching the State of the Union address.
Right.
It'll be able to tell how you feel about what they're telling you. People don't realize how invasive that's going to be. It's going to be very invasive.
Yeah, I agree with that. Um, yeah, that is, you know, certainly important, you know, to protect like those God-given rights, those constitutional freedoms. What about the idea of on another topic like voting integrity? So I know that's mostly a state issue as far as the rules for voting, but we do know, I believe it was HR1 that was trying to federalize the mail-in ballots and basically create that system, in my opinion, of vast fraud that we saw in the last election. I mean, how do you feel about that? You know, the election integrity, those efforts to federalize rules for regarding elections. What's your opinion on that?
I don't believe the federal government should be involved in elections. They have not been, and you're absolutely right. The reason they're trying to insert themselves is to perfect the fraud. And the fraud is nothing new. The first time this situation with these particular machines was brought to light was way back in 2004 in Ohio. So this is nothing new. Um, there are some good patriots that have been telling them and been writing letters and trying to get the message to them that they know it's happening. And we see it more now than ever. In 2020, we actually saw it. They not only were the machines changing votes, but we could see with the ballot drop boxes.
Right.
There's going to be a good documentary coming out real soon, 2000 Mules. It's going to show you exactly how they used the drop boxes to commit fraud. One thing about all those people that were being those mules, they all carried cell phones. So they were all tracked and traced carrying a cell phone. So we know what they did and where they were and how they perpetrated that. And all of that's going to come out. I have faith that all of that's going to be exposed.
Right. Right. So what do you think? Like, I know some of the there were the challenges to electoral college votes by some senators and congressmen. I know that like Congressman Mooney, he one challenge he said no. You know, remember when they were challenging the votes from certain states, and one he voted yes. And I'm not sure about McKinley, but what do you think? Should the congressmen and senators have challenged those electoral votes from some of the states like Pennsylvania or others? Was that the right thing to do?
I think that for our integrity, when you see something that immense and that wrong, yes, I think everybody should have said something. And anybody that didn't is no good in my book. They all need to go. I think every last one of them there needs to be replaced. All of them. And we can do so much better.
I
I
agree
mean,
with that.
you saw what, no matter what you think of Donald Trump, he showed us in 4 years what could be done. And look what he accomplished with all the adversity he faced. Now, can you imagine what we could accomplish if we just went in there and took it over? Because we're infiltrated at every level, and we can see it. We can see it now. It's all through our government. It's all through our education system. It's all through our higher learning. It's all through all of our corporations. It's just everywhere. And the only way we're going to combat that is to turn around and, for lack of a better word, infiltrate it right back. Take it back. There's no reason we can't do this.
That's true. People need to be aware, and hopefully is helping people know what candidates these interviews are, like yourself, are saying. So that brings up kind of another issue. I've blogged about it on my site. You may or may not have seen, but like God in the public square. So what I mean is that whether you're a politician or anybody else, do you think you should be free to discuss issues of faith? For instance, no, I'm clearly not talking about establishment religion or anything, but just discussing issues of faith, because actually, those matter obviously, and they can't really be separated from issues of integrity, values, whatever, in my opinion. But anyway, what's your take on it?
The Constitution says they cannot make any law that favors a religion.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, why can't you discuss your religion? They can't make a law that favors any religion.
Right.
No
Establishes
matter what it
religion.
is, you should be allowed to discuss it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that falls into free speech too.
Yeah, it does. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're getting this kind of what I think is a weird atmosphere, or hostile, you could say sometimes, where that doesn't seem to be something that's some
That,
people are comfortable with. But it shouldn't. I don't think it shouldn't be an issue. As long as it's not establishment
why
of
it's been
religion.
made an issue? It's been made an issue for what's going on right now. To lose the sovereignty, to be part of that one world government, you're going to have to lose your sovereignty and lose God. They don't want God in the picture anymore. They want your God to be the government. That's why the atmosphere has become what it's become.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, that's a good point. That's true. So on another topic, like all these, and based on your discussion, well, anyway, let's see just what you want to say about it. So I noticed on your website you are talking about medical freedom. So we see like now, the Biden administration pushing back on even removing the long overdue, travel mandates and things like that. Um, how, so maybe you just iterated to some extent, but maybe tell the voters clearly what you think about these kind of like mask mandates and these kind of mandates for workers in government or even in private mandates, but also government mandates for like vaccination, things like that. What's your opinion on it?
They're totally unconstitutional. I spent almost a decade in college studying biology and chemistry and basic medical laboratory techniques. I knew from the minute they said PCR test that this was all a lie. That all this for a virus they haven't even isolated. It's all a computer model. Now, really, do we really believe that? I mean, if this virus were so deadly, you have to be tested to know you have it. I mean, it's all so fantastical. I don't understand how anybody still believes it. I mean, you can almost tell who watches television all day. There's not one study out there that tells you that a mask protects you from a
That's
virus.
true. Yeah,
Not
that's right.
one. And there's many, 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 many of them that tell you the opposite. You know, they talk about the Spanish flu all the time when they want to talk about this. And the fact being known, there were a lot of deaths during the Spanish flu from the mask wearing. And Fauci knew this. He wrote a paper on it. A lot of the deaths were from bacterial pneumonia from the excessive wearing of masks. The best analogy I've seen is wearing a mask to protect you from a virus. It makes about as much sense as putting a chain link fence up to keep mosquitoes out of your yard. I mean,
Right.
it's a particle that's so small. And now you're seeing that they question germ theory too. So I think that we've been told so many lies that the truth is going to set us free. I think that I just told my husband not long ago, I said, I can't wait to learn everything all over again because I think a lot of what I've learned is a lie. I really do. It's very unconstitutional. This is not about health or a virus. This is about the Great Reset, the New World Order, the one world government. It's about control. That's all it's about.
Well, I
And
agree. Otherwise, you can't really explain a lot of the lockdowns are counterproductive, the mask mandates, all these or these kind of things.
and any of us that know science, just it's just laughable. It's just ridiculousness. The things that I still see some people wearing masks, and I just want to go up and tell them, look, that's going to make you ill. Please take that off. It's fear. It's using fear. Is what it is. That's all it is.
Right.
And lockdowns are coming again. I think they're going to try that with us again. And I sure hope that we learn from the last time. We can't let that happen again.
Right. I agree. I agree with that. So when you're elected, as you're elected, if you're elected, then what would be your very, very top priority? Like your your top action step?
I want to work on that Internet Bill of Rights. There are a lot of people that have really good ideas. I'd like to gather some people together and start on that. I definitely want to do anything and everything I can to restore our Constitution and get the UN out of my government. And that right there is going to be a lot of work. and only people like me even desire to do it. And only somebody like me that won't know their limitations will do great things. I believe that.
Amen. Amen. So yeah, on another topic, so do you support like a national concealed carry bill? So I know that in states like West Virginia we can carry. And I know there's been several efforts to get like a national bill where there be reciprocity in every state. Like obviously we can't like go to Maryland, you know. What do you think about that?
I would support that wholeheartedly. Yes.
Mm.
Yes. I tell a lot of people, you better thank your lucky stars that we are still armed. We were supposed to be disarmed by now. The schedule they had, they wanted guns out of our hands already. You should thank your lucky stars that we still have that capability, because I believe if we didn't, we would have had much more severe lockdowns and a lot more issues. More like you saw what happened in Australia. Just the overreach was bad enough, but I feel that it would have been much worse if we
Mm.
were disarmed. I do. So yeah, I would wholeheartedly. We, that is a right that we need to make sure we always have. We're all safer for that. We are. We really are.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, one interesting issue is a corollary to what we talked about with the what I call vaccination choice. I've been working on that in West Virginia. But as you may know, in 1986 there was a bill passed that took away the liability of the drug companies for vaccine injuries, and then the number of vaccines skyrocketed and injuries,
Hmm.
although it was nothing like COVID, but it still was a lot of people were injured.
Yes.
So I mean, considering that, I mean, and one interesting thing, like, there's been the movies like you may have heard of, like Vaxxed, where,
Yes.
a lot of these points came out. But to my
Hmm.
knowledge, that guy in the movie came out, I think now, let's see, what's 2022, at least, was it 4 or more years ago than that? Anyway, it's been a while, or even 6 years
Yeah.
ago. And then
Hmm.
that guy, William Thompson, according to the movie, was expected to testify before Congress. And he was never called to Congress. It's mind-boggling. Like, never was there a hearing. Hey, Mr. Thompson, what are you talking about? What happened? So I mean, wow. Do you have any comments on that?
I think the vaccines are all part of the plan too. They're. I had a friend in college that had an autistic child, and he swore that that's what caused his injury. And I used to tell him, "Oh, how can you say that? That coming up with the vaccine was a crowning achievement of humankind. I don't know how you could say that." Now I see it. It's just, it's not the concept. The concept is a good thing. It's kind of priming your immune system. A live or an attenuated virus introduced into the immune system spurs your immune system to produce the antibodies, and when it sees it again, it'll take care of it. That's not what we're doing. That's not what's in vaccines. And this thing that they're calling a vaccine is messenger RNA therapy. It's not a vaccine.
Right.
They literally had to change the definition online of vaccine to fit this in their repertoire. Um, and after seeing the evidence, when Fauci started at the NIAID and Bill Gates took over with his vaccine initiative for children in the 90s, 12.8% of our children had a chronic or an autoimmune disease. Now, over 54% of our children have a chronic or an autoimmune
Yeah,
disease.
that's a real crisis.
So, and it corresponds with more and the vaccine initiatives. There's way more vaccines now than you or I ever got. Way more.
That's true.
Uh, and we have to take a hard look at that. And that's what they don't allow you. That law in 1986 closed a lot of the book on that, even though there's been a lot paid out. The government hires their own doctors to sit in on those cases. Their
Yeah,
own
it's not a real
doctors.
cord. There's just like one.
Right.
They call it
Vaccine
a
cord.
vaccine cord. Yeah, right.
Right. And the
A lot
government
of
hires
cases are
their own.
thrown out.
Well, they had, I want to say his name was Zimmerman, but I don't want to misquote. One of the government's own doctors saw the correlation between the MMR vax and autism within 24 hours of him telling the government that they no longer needed his services. So
Right.
anybody that's going to be truthful, they're going to get rid of. You
Right.
know, so the guilt is there. We need to combat that. We need to get rid of that, and we
Yeah.
need
Yeah. I
medical
think there's a
freedom. It
lot of
should be a
conflicts of
choice.
interest. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm to the point now where I don't want to say I'm an anti-vaxxer, but I'm real close. And it's like I said, it's not, the concept was a great achievement, but I don't think that's what's really going into those vials. There's mercury and all other, the
Yeah.
thermocell. I don't know. They say they've gotten rid of that, but there's something there that's causing a problem. And
Yeah,
yes,
definitely. Well, yeah, and then also the whole idea of how effective they are or aren't. But yeah, we have a fact sheet about that. I'll share with you with our
yes, those
nonprofit.
diseases were on the decline and almost gone before we ever started vaccinating.
Yeah, that's true. Very
Yep,
true.
very true. Yes.
Yeah. So as we're coming, I think near the conclusion of the interview, so like what differentiates you from your opponents? Why should the voters choose you on? Well, I guess the early voting started, but anyway, on May 10th.
Well, I'd like to tell you what Mooney and McKinley were doing while we were locked down. While we were struggling to keep our freedom, they were sitting back buying stocks in the very companies that produce the hardware and the software for the digital ID. So while we were struggling to remain free, they were sitting back and banking on our new slavery. They were supporting that. McKinley bought a lot of stocks in Cerner, which is now Oracle. That's a huge multinational company that produces, like I said, the hardware and the software for that digital ID. And another big one was Raytheon, which is military industrial complex.
Right.
That's been a lot of his shtick while he's been in there. He has just really enriched himself, So I tell people, and I just put it out on social media just recently, I will not buy one stock while I'm in office, and I will sign my name to that. If I am elected, I've put thousands and thousands of hours of research into this since I've always kept up on things. And I'm a reader and a writer and a thinker. But if I'm elected, I will dedicate my entire life to this. I will dedicate 24/7. I'll be the best informed. If there's something I don't know, I'll learn it. And I'm a quick learner too. So that won't be me. There won't be any question in anybody's mind whose side I'm on. It'll be the side of the people and for the prosperity of our nation.
Well stated. Well stated. Well, yeah, I want to thank you very much for your time today. If you have any further thoughts, you can share them. I think we've covered a lot of bases. So I hope
I
everyone
do,
will,
yes.
yeah, we'll get
I
out
would
and
like to come down and visit you sometime too.
yeah, we'll have a workshop coming up soon. You can join that if you want. Yeah, that
I
would
would
be great.
love to.
Yeah, that would be
Great.
great. Great to see you. Yeah, we'll keep a post about that. Okay. Well, yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll make this available on podcast and video. And so I'm your host, Richard Urban. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.